maybe if my computer will allow it. Alright, so this was written by a Jason Graziadei. I'm sure I messed that up. You guys know how I am. So, a few people on Nantucket remember her name after all these years, but for those people that do, Margaret Kilcoyne, 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 I don't know how else I would pronounce that, is an enigma. She was a brilliant doctor with horn-rimmed glasses. She was a loner who built her summer home in a secluded corner of the island. A devout Catholic who believed that she was facing a spiritual test. A fiercely competitive researcher of hypertension with delusions of grandeur. A 50-year-old physician with perhaps her undiagnosed, I can't read, psychiatric disorder, but then she was just simply the woman who vanished. The disappearance of Dr. Margaret Mary Kilcoyne on a frigid Nantucket night in January of 1980 remains one of the island's greatest unsolved mysteries. It is a cold case with no definitive answers or explanations, and it still haunts the Nantucketers who are responsible for finding her. To this day, they don't agree on exactly what happened to her that night, and the curious circumstances both before and after her disappearance have never been fully explained. The whole thing, right from the beginning, was strange, says retired Nantucket Police Department Captain George Resendez, one of the lead investigators of the case. You'd have to say that it was just bizarre from the beginning. When Dr. Kilcoyne made her fateful final trip to Nantucket 36 years ago, she was, well, telling her friends and family. It's probably more than 36 years now. This article was written before this. Anyway, I'm just reading it as it is. Okay. She was telling her friends and family that she had made a significant medical discovery that would win her a Nobel Prize. An assistant professor of medicine at the Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons, Kilcoyne left her laboratory in New York City, flying high, and planned to unwind and celebrate with a brief getaway to the island. She was met on Nantucket by her brother, Leo, an executive with IBM in Canada, on the evening of January 25th, 1980. She dined at her home in Tom Nevers with Leo and two friends, Nantucket residents Richard and Grace Coffin. They were the last people to ever see Dr. Kilcoyne. I feel like I'm really saying that wrong, but I have to refer to her as Doctor. The next morning, Leo, her brother, called the Nantucket Police Department at 7:15 a.m. to report that his sister was missing. Her winter coat, boots, watch, and purse had been left behind at the home, but the doctor herself was nowhere to be found. An extensive search began almost immediately as police officers scoured the acres of dense oak that surrounded Kilcoyne's home, as well as the Tom Nevers Pond and southeastern shoreline of the island, but nothing turned up. There were no footprints or anything to indicate where she might have gone. The island authorities checked in at the airport and the steamship authority to see if she had left on a departing flight or ferry. They stopped by Nantucket College Hospital on the chance that she had been admitted. Still, nothing. The search expanded into the moors, cranberry bogs, out to Pulpis and Skankatee. Oh my gosh, I am so bad. By noon that day, a Coast Guard search for Margaret. To me, it felt like a setup. On February 7th, the case made the front page of the Enquirer and the Mirror with news of Margaret's newly found belongings and the renewed search effort. The story kicked off a period of frenzied media attention, including coverage by Boston newspapers and television stations, along with the New York Times, the Associated Press, and New York Magazine. There was no good explanation, said former Nantucket resident and writer Gary Holmes, who covered the story for the Enquirer and Mirror as a cub reporter. It definitely was not your usual missing persons case. Leads began pouring in as soon as the story spread, and alleged sightings of Margaret were reported on Cape Cod and in Boston. Nantucket police officers and the town prosecutor, Bob Mooney, who has since passed away, chased down those leads and followed up on the sightings. They traveled to New York City to search Margaret's apartment and interview her colleagues at the Columbia College of Physicians and Surgeons. But they continued to come up empty, even as they learned more about the woman that they were seeking. Margaret's disappearance became the talk of the town on Nantucket and the fascination of the press both on the island and off. In the middle of winter, it captured the island's imagination and became gossip-driven and very salacious in a way that I look back on now and think, where was the compassion and empathy for this woman? Said former island resident Rosie Ruley, who was a student at Nantucket High School when Margaret went missing. Rosie has since spent years researching Margaret's disappearance and is writing a fictional book based on the case. Maybe she did make her way to the beach and walked into the ocean, Rosie said, but my biggest problem was how quickly people bought into that theory. some of her closest colleagues said that that's how she always talked. The tape was found by Leo in his sister's Tom Nevers home and delivered to Trooper McGrady. To some people, it represented the last words of a woman suffering from a manic episode who was potentially suicidal. To other people, including a few of her friends, it simply sounded like Dr. Margaret Kilcoyne that they knew. They said that it was a typical conversation with rapid-fire talking where you couldn't get a word in edgewise. The then Nantucket Police Chief Paul Hunter told the Enquirer and Mirror, March of 1980. This article also noted that Hunter said that Margaret's close friends and relatives said that nothing was unusual with her talking about being on a higher spiritual plane or receiving messages from her dead sister-in-law. As Dr. Rosamond Kane, a former colleague of Margaret, told New York Magazine in 1980, "That's why I can't figure this whole thing out, because it can't have been suicide. Tell me someone has committed suicide and I'll say, well, yes, maybe he was depressed or worried about something the rest of us didn't know about. But not Margaret." Ruli, who actually had the opportunity, she's the one writing the book, remember, actually had the opportunity to listen to this recorded telephone message, is unconvinced that it indicated a woman in a manic episode or someone on the verge of suicide. "It didn't sound to me like someone who was unhinged," she said. "It was someone who was concerned and upset about something that she cared about." Margaret's alleged strange behavior in the days leading up to her disappearance, Ruli believes, might simply be a case of misinterpretation on the part of investigators and those people that she encountered. The $600 shopping spree for a woman who had a summer house on Nantucket, shopping at the A&P in the winter probably meant finding bargains on items that she wanted to stock up on. When you start putting it together in a different lens, it becomes a different story, Ruli said. Becomes a story about a woman who was misunderstood by the people trying to find her. If you take the whole narrative with a different lens, she wasn't crazy. She was different from the prevailing culture. And I'm going to talk about how I feel about that too. She was certainly a woman ahead of the times in which she lived. Margaret was the first woman accepted to the University of Vermont Medical School, where she graduated with an MD in 1964. Good for her. She practiced and excelled in the then male-dominated field of medicine, and she earned a prestigious post at the leading academic medical center. At 50 years old, she was unmarried, and she owned apartments in New York and Boston, as well as a house on Nantucket. I should have been a doctor, just saying. In the years before her disappearance, that's the second time I've said that today. In the years before her disappearance, Margaret kept a relatively low profile on the island. She had purchased the secluded property in Tom Nevers August of 1970. At the time, it was largely undeveloped, a wasteland of scrub oak, notable only for the Navy base that was still in operation in the Kennedy Bunker, a relic of the Cold War and Camelot. In October 1972, the Enquirer and Mirror noted that Margaret had been approved to build a 14,000 square foot home on Parsons Lane. 4 years later, she was named the president of the newly formed Tom Nevers Head Civic Association. The only note of controversy in her adopted summer home came in 1977, when Margaret joined 12 other Tom Nevers property owners in filing a class action lawsuit against a developer. One, Robert Seaford, who had received approval for a 4-lot subdivision abutting her home. Jumping in on Margaret's case nearly 40 years after the fact was like entering an episode of The Twilight Zone that just happened to have taken place on Nantucket. As I went further down the rabbit hole of her disappearance, cases you find. Take, for instance, in the week after she went missing, a search plane piloted by island resident Bob Garabrandt crashed as it was scanning Tom Nevers for any sign of Margaret. He lived, by the way. The Nantucket Police Department's lead investigator, Paul Hunter, started his new job as police chief on the island the very day that Margaret went missing. The Nantucket police brought in a psychic to assist on this case. And to top it off, this man, it says this man submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to the Nantucket Police Department for case files on this investigation. As it turns out, these files are missing. The case files disappeared several years after the initial investigation. As I found out, that didn't mean that the records were unobtainable. Copies of the lost case files were still floating around the island, and thanks to a few sources willing to share them, I managed to get a peek of some of the missing person documents. Perhaps the most intriguing was a pair of confidential reports dated March 9th, 1980 and March 23rd, 1980, authored by Deputy Sheriff Peter Robbins of the Barnstable County Sheriff's Office Bureau of Criminal Investigations. According to his reports, Robbins traveled to Nantucket more than a month after Margaret's disappearance with a canine, Zeus, a cadaver dog specially trained to detect human remains. On both visits, the police dog was drawn to a wall in Margaret's bedroom, at one point even scratching and biting at the wall. Robbins then conducted a series of chemical tests using sodium chloride irrigation solution as well as luminol in an effort to detect the presence of human blood. Now, this was well before the days of DNA evidence, but not only did the wall that got Canine Zeus's attention show positive for the presence of blood, so did the baseboard and the floor below the wall, as well as the bathtub and bathroom sinks. This is the only article I found this stuff in, so that's why I'm reading it to you. Robbins reported his findings to Nantucket Police and Bob Mooney, but it appears this new information did not lead them to believe that Margaret was the victim of foul play. Hello? Due to the sensitivity of the testing reagents and the fact that no large masses of bloodstains were found, it would appear, and it is the opinion of this officer, that each stain and or positive reaction could have been reproduced under perfectly normal circumstances, Robbins concluded in his report. The fact that the dog had detected blood on the wall of the bedroom and it had tested positive for the presence of blood never made it into the press reports about this case, and it is unclear what the authorities did to follow up with this information. While authorities may not have believed that the blood evidence was indicative of something sinister, I found that some people directly involved in the original investigation do not believe the prevailing history that she was in the midst of a manic episode and walked into the ocean and committed suicide. My theory for this whole thing, and I still stick to it, is that she flew out undetected and went somewhere and just disappeared, said Watts, the former fire chief. In fact, Watts once called Margaret's case the biggest scam that was ever perpetrated on this town. Former Nantucket officer Paul Smith, who was also involved in this investigation, said that he believes Margaret is still out there, very much alive. I feel that Dr. Kilcoyne was depressed, but is alive somewhere out there today, and that the suicide was staged between her and her brother Leo, and that's why her things were found at a place that was already searched. She was probably having some sort of mental breakdown and didn't want to receive the prestigious award she was nominated to receive for her work. But I feel like she's still alive and living in Canada or someplace under false identity. McGrady, the state police trooper, offered an alternative scenario. We found that a light aircraft left the island early that morning before the airport opened. We don't know where it came from, whose it was, or where it was going. There was no record of it because the airport wasn't open, and the years lived to see if her death certificate would ever show up. Resendez said that would prove that her brother scooped her up and put her in an institute. I did that for 10 years or so, but nothing ever showed up. Earl Zimmerman, a neurologist who worked closely with Margaret at the then Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, dismisses such conjecture. At the time that Margaret went missing, Zimmerman was collaborating with her on a grant from the National Institute of Health, in which they were attempting to determine whether the human brain cell can regulate blood pressure through a peptide hormone called angiotensin. Hey, I should really learn to read. Their discovery in the weeks before her disappearance is that angiotensin was indeed present in the brain. This was Margaret's crowning achievement in her research on hypertension. It is what led her to believe that she might have the Nobel Peace Prize in her cap. Today, Zimmerman practices behavioral neurology in Albany, New York. When I reached him by phone, he said that in the years since his colleague disappeared, he began to see the case in a different light, as his research expanded to Alzheimer's and other dementias. In retrospect, I realized that what happened to her was really a medical tragedy, Zimmerman said. Since that time, we've become aware in the field that people can become psychotic at 45 or 50 for the first time, and there's a suspicion that they have dementia. I think I now realize I lost a colleague because she had a brain disease and presented this way. Yet, for Rowley, it's not Dr. Margaret's actions in the days that led up to her disappearance that deserve the most scrutiny, but rather the subsequent behavior of her brother, Leo. Quite quickly after her disappearance, he started talking about suicide. I found that to be striking. If a loved one disappears, the last thing you want it to be is that. But Leo got there quite quickly, and he left the island the next day. He planted a theory and left, and was never really challenged on it, and he's someone who stood to gain from this. Leo Kilcoyne filed a petition in the Nantucket probate court in June of 1980, 6 months after Margaret's disappearance, seeking to be appointed the receiver of her property. A month later, the petition was granted, and he took control of the Nantucket home, along with his sister's bank accounts, cars, and other belongings. On July 13th, 1989, the Inquirer and Mirror's front page headline announced, "Mystery ends, Kilcoyne declared dead," after Leo's second petition to have his sister legally declared deceased was accepted by the court. Throughout the initial investigation, there are occasions when his behavior sticks out as unusual. Don Smith, a friend and neighbor of Margaret on Nantucket, told the police that he went to see Leo after his sister had gone missing, and Leo seemed cold and more or less ignored him. According to a report written by Resendez on February 15th, 1980, he did not ask Don about his visit with Margaret on Thursday night, even though Don told him he had been over at that time. When the police tracked down the waitress who had served Margaret in Connecticut as she traveled to Nantucket before her disappearance, they found that Leo had called this woman the day after his sister went missing and was intent on convincing her that Margaret was very depressed and suicidal. Why would you do that? This woman, Susan Price, reportedly told Leo, "Mr. Kilcoyne, there was no way that she took her own life." Watts was somewhat skeptical too. I would put it this way: if it was my sister or brother who disappeared, I would have been hysterical. It's your kin, your blood, and I would have been frantic, getting everyone in, hiring private detectives. His actions were not the way I would have reacted. Everyone reacts differently, but in my opinion, what can I say? That would be me. I'd be absolutely nutso if my sister went missing. My brother, on the other hand, no. Perhaps Leo Kilcoyne's reaction was merely doctors who once knew or searched for Margaret on Nantucket Island. Island prosecutor Bob Mooney, former police chief Paul Hunter, and one of her few Nantucket friends, Richard Coffin, have all since passed away. The mystery of Dr. Kilcoyne's disappearance may never be solved, but it remains an intriguing chapter of Nantucket history that is not easily forgotten. I thought that was a very good article, and I thought that it was very descriptive, and the gentleman went above and beyond. So, now I'm going to talk about my theories. I did interject a little. Alright. I don't think she committed suicide. I didn't think she committed suicide before I found this article and found out about Zeus the dog finding the blood. I don't think that someone who believes that she's going to earn a Nobel Peace Prize buys $600 worth of groceries to include $200 worth of alcohol and just walks her happy booty into the freezing ocean. Sorry, not what I think. Now, I have a little bit of experience with working with doctors. I've done it for the last, too many years. I do think, and I've said this and people have discussed it with me, that their brains work differently. I think that when you're a doctor, you have to be a certain kind of smart, which I'm not, which is why I'm not a doctor. Your brain works so fast and differently from the regular lay person. Me, you, I don't know, maybe you are a doctor. I think that they forget social cues, and they forget, they're so, okay, in my experience, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, they're so accustomed to being waited on and catered to, and they forget that, yes, you're a doctor, you're better than me, but you're not better than me. Like, your degree is higher than mine, yes, but that doesn't make you better than me. Yeah, you drive a fancier car, that means it's going to cost you more to fix it. But I'm not saying that that's why she died. I'm just saying her brain worked differently, which is probably why she rapid fire talked and bounced from here to there to here to there, because, like, she has 1,000 tabs open and they're all trying to talk at once. That's kind of how I describe it. But so I think that people that understand that, see that when they, or hear that when they listen to her tape, it's not unusual for her to be rapid fire jumping from thing to thing. So no, I don't think she committed suicide. I don't necessarily have an explanation for the blood, except it's a little far-fetched, but maybe something happened to her and the brother either did it or covered it up. He really did stand to gain. I'm pretty sure I read that it was something like $200,000, which in 1980 is a lot more than it is today, but that's still a lot of money. I think that he stood to gain a lot, but I don't know anything about him to know, would he kill his sister? I don't know. It's a lot of money. Maybe he needed it for something. I think it's odd that her stuff was found like a week later. It's another reason why I don't think she committed suicide. I don't know if he did. Was he back on the island? Was it a setup? I don't have an explanation for that, because the area was clearly thoroughly searched before that. But it's strange. If she got on a plane, if she was on that plane that was there at that airport before it opened, I guess she wouldn't have needed her wallet or passport if she was creating a new identity somewhere. Just left it all behind. And maybe he did put her in an institution under a false name. I mean, they did that with Jan Broberg. She was in a school without documentation, and this was way after that. Actually, I don't know. I don't know what year that was that Bob put her in a school. I love that case. I've been listening to the mystery theory do it, so I'm gonna tilt you a little. Hey. Maybe she's still in an institution somewhere, you know. If he said the right things and got her put in there, they're not gonna listen to her. years, and really what I think is happening with my mother, even though they've told us no. She's getting another brain MRI this week, so